Hey you guys, hello and welcome to the Bible Study Studio. My name is Sonia McCullough Lockridge and I joy to come to you in this fashion. Now this is our almost final day of our subject matter, addressing the subject matter of the art of engaging the word exegetically in an everyday expository fashion. This is almost our last day. There will be one more day because the Lord is prompting me to do a little walkthrough of my setup here that is in my living room. It is in the corner of my living room. It takes up very, very little space. So that will be our final video, is a little walkthrough of my setup so you can see how I have things set up. And no, this is not a setup that requires us to fundraise. This is not a setup that requires any building. I actually use a table that I picked up at a store that we have here that's called All Things Possible, and I think I got this table for $10. So that will be our final video, and when that video airs, I will share with you the PDF download of the art of engaging the word exegetically in an everyday expository fashion. So I will share that on that particular video. Now, let me just look at my note for the tour of my studio setup. Studio tour, yeah, that's all it says. So today, the question on the table today is Adonai the Lord of this our one life? Is Adonai the Lord of this our one life? Because to engage in this particular art, because in this particular art, our final aim is to share a message and or an essay. That is our final aim. We are not like some out there who are going through the process of the text to not share. Our aim is to share the gospel. Our aim is to tell someone about Jesus. That is our ultimate and our final aim. And how we do that here is either through messaging and or essays. Messaging and or essays. So that is our final aim. I know there's a lot of methods out there, such as we're not just studying to learn, yes, but we're also studying to share. Our aim is to share. I was looking for my phone. Hold on 1 second. 1 second, I'll be right back. The aim of my ministry is to, and I have that written down precisely, so I want to share with you our exact aim so I don't get it muddled. I'm going to pull it up so you know exactly what our aim is. Our aim exists to study, serve, share, and sustain women with the holy word of the Lord. To study, number 1, serve, number 2, share, number 3, and sustain. Now, those are not necessarily in that particular order, but that's what this particular ministry, the Bible Study Studio, and Keyword Bible Studies, and everything that we do exists. That is our aim, always and forever. That is our aim, to build one another up so we might better study, so we might better share, so we might better speak, so we might better sustain ourselves with the holy and mighty word of the Lord. That is our aim, our number 1 aim. Now, so that's why this question is imperative and important, is because when we are studying, sharing, sustaining ourselves with the word, we have to know and understand that Adonai, the Lord Jesus Christ, is also the Word. So, because in John 1, it says that this very thing in John 1. So, I guess I am going to pull a Bible from this stack so we can, for our use for today. Now, today we're going to use this NIV. I know. Some people don't like the NIV, but I like it. I like it a lot. And it's a very easy to understand text, especially if we're starting in our journey with the Lord. It's a very easy to understand text. So let's look at John 1. John 1. And anytime we're in the text and we don't know where something is, there's absolutely not a thing wrong with using the index. Table of contents, index, all the things. They're there for us to use. They're not there to shame us. They're there for us to use. So, John 1 reads as follows. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. So, the name Adonai means God's absolute power over creation, the Lord's absolute power over creation. And we are part of His creation. So hopefully and prayerfully, He has absolute power over us in this our one life. The name of God is significant and accurate. And this particular name, Adonai, is used more than 400 times in the Old Testament. More than 400 times in the Old Testament. It is used more than 700 times in the New Testament. And I'm going to share with us a few uses in the Old Testament and one use in the New Testament. So the Old Testament, Isaiah 25:8. Isaiah 25:8. Once again, if we don't know where something is, we can just flip through. And once you start, if you're a beginner, once you start flipping through, you will learn where all the 66 chapters are. But sometimes you'll have to use your table of contents because some of those little bitty Bibles, books in the Old Testament, they're skinny and they're little and they're hard to lay hands on when we're just thumbing through. Isaiah 25:8. Sorry. I do hate to lick my fingers, though, but sometimes the thin pages requires us to do that as well. Isaiah 25:8 reads as follows. He will swallow up death forever. The sovereign Lord will wipe away the tears from all faces. He will remove the disgrace of his people from all the earth. The Lord has spoken. Now, this particular Bible verse is restated in the last part of the book of Revelation. Which we will get to next week. So that is Isaiah 25:8. And if you look at that, the word Lord is all caps. It's all caps. The word Lord is all caps because in the Old Testament, that's how we know that key word is Adonai. Now let's look at Daniel 9:19. Daniel 9:19. Daniel 9:19. O Lord, listen. O Lord, forgive. O Lord, hear and act for your sake. O my God, do not delay, because your city and your people bear your name. Now, this particular form of the word Lord, Adonai, is used at least three times in this one Bible verse. At least three times in this one Bible verse. Now, let's move on to Zechariah 9:14. Now, Zechariah is one of those books that we could easily thumb right past. 9:14. Is it 9:14? Is that right? I must have written that down wrong, because that's not the verse. That's not the verse for Zechariah. I wrote it down wrong. But it is in the book of Zechariah that this particular keyword is used as Adonai. Now, Philippians chapter 2. I wish I had done something different on that. Sometimes I write things down wrong. I have a tendency to write down everything, but sometimes I do write things down wrong, and it grieves my person to do that, but I do it. Philippians chapter 2. And I did not Okay, now I did not isolate the verse for Philippians chapter 2 where the word Adonai is used, but I just may look it up on my trusty little iPhone. I tell you what I will do is I will look it up and I will note it at the bottom for both Daniel. Well, no, we read Daniel chapter 9 for both Zechariah and Philippians. I will look that up and I will note it in the description below. So, also this keyword Adonai is used for human rulers as well. In the Old Testament, it is used once, we know, when David calls Saul Lord. When David calls Saul Lord, this is the same word, Adonai. And when Sarah refers to her husband Abraham as Lord, this is the same key word, Adonai. Now, in the New Testament, the Greek in the New Testament is kairos. Kairos in the Greek is the New Testament. And it has the very same meaning, sovereign. And this word, like I said once before, applies to Jesus more than 700 times. So, when our alarm that we set in our messaging or our writing is always set on the Lord Jesus. It's always set that He is our alarm. He is our point. He is who we are pointing to. We're not pointing to ourselves. Our end game is to point to Jesus, Adonai, the Lord who is sovereign over all things, because we want for others to understand the value of the Lord being sovereign over their life. It has eternal value, and the eternal value is what matters in this our one life, not necessarily the earthly value, but the internal implications and the eternal value is what we're speaking of here. And we can be sure when we use our messaging and our writing to point to Jesus as our end game, we can be sure that we're not living or we're not sharing a false message. We can be sure when we point to Jesus that any false messaging is likely to be eliminated when our aim and our goal is to point to the one and only Jesus. This helps us eliminate most of the chances of us living and presenting a false gospel, because there is nothing false about Jesus. Now, there is a difference between presenting a false gospel and in making a mistake in our presentation. But when we point to Jesus, when that is our ultimate and our true aim, we can be sure, no matter the numbers, that the gospel that we preach, the gospel that we share, the gospel that we speak is not false, when He and He alone is our ultimate goal and our ultimate benefactor. Okay? So I know there's a lot of talk about false preaching and false, what are they calling it? False preaching and false teachers. So when we're a teacher, that our aim is to point to Jesus, we need not be that concerned about false teaching when our ultimate aim is to point to Jesus. When we point to Jesus, we get them to the place that we are assigned to take folks. So when we get them to that place, irregardless if we may have made a mistake, not false teaching, but a mistake in our messaging, then we know and we understand that we have gotten them or helped them get to the feet of the one and only Jesus. When He's our aim, when He's our goal, when He's the benefactor, then we can focus on our assignment. We can focus on our purpose, because we all have the same purpose. As Christians, we all have the same purpose, and that is to share the message of the one and only Jesus. So when that is our ultimate goal, when that is our ultimate game, then the chances of us presenting any false narratives, any false teaching is less likely. Now, you did not hear me say that it is guaranteed. Okay, you did not hear me say it is guaranteed. You heard me say that it is less likely. Now, it is very possible that those who are focusing on false teaching could be missing opportunities to point people to Jesus. This is our ultimate goal, no matter when, where, how, and wherever we are, is to point people to Jesus. And if we're talking to Christians or each other, that's our job, is to point each other back to Jesus. That's our job. That's our goal. That's our aim. Because He and He alone is the one who saves. So we need to think of that paralytic that was the two folks lowered him into the house so he might be saved by the word of the Lord. That's our job, is to lower people into the house to the feet of Jesus. So Jesus can do what it is that only He can do. This is the last video in this series, with the exception of the video I spoke of in regards to sharing my space here. Now, I do have a lot of books, biblical books and whatnot, but I elected not to use books as a backdrop because everybody's doing that. Everyone's doing that. I don't want to do what everyone's doing. We are uniquely positioned, and the Lord has uniquely gifted each one of us with a way to share what the Lord Jesus Christ has done in this, our one life. So each one of us has the ability, and each one of us has the responsibility in some shape, form, or fashion to share Jesus. to share Jesus with the folks that we have great influence over, and that is the folks that touch on our lives each and every day. This is Sonia signing out. I hope and pray that you have a blessed day in the Lord. And I look forward to Monday, in which we start our study in the book of Revelation. It likely may not start in the way in which you think it might, but we will start on Monday with our study of the book of Revelation. This is Sonia signing out. Have a blessed day in the Lord. Thank you.